Welcome back, aliens. My name is Navin Reddy, and let's continue with the series on Python. Now, in the last video, we have talked about how can we use PyCharm, right? As I mentioned before, you can use any IDE which you like, okay? Every IDE almost works in the same way. Now, in this video, we'll do something which you are waiting from a long time, and which is how to get the input from a user. See, trust me, when you are building a project, you are doing it for the client, right? And of course, you are expecting a client input. Until this point, we are working with our own numbers. We should be looking for the user input, right? How do we do that? So the thing is, in Python, whatever we have done till now is done with the help of functions. Example, if you want to print something, print function. If you want to do some calculation like finding the sum of the list or finding the minimum value of it, or maybe whatever function, whatever operations we have done till now, we have used functions, right? For input as well, we have an input function. The name itself says it, right? Now, so instead of using 5 here, of course we'll be adding two numbers, but then instead of using 5, we will be using a function called as input. Okay, it's very simple. And then for y as well, we will be saying input. So for x also we have input, for y also we have input. Now will it work? That's a question. I will try it. Okay, so I will right click here. I will say run my code. Okay, it works. You can see there's no error. Okay, first step is done, there's no error. But think about this. You got a console and you are waiting for something, because till this point we were just doing something and we were getting the output. This is the first time your console is not saying anything. The thing is, your console is waiting for you. I mean, now when I say you, I'm talking about the user. A console is waiting for the user to give the input. Now console don't know that, user don't know what to do now. So user doesn't know what to do. A console don't know that user is waiting. So a console should notify user, hey user, I'm expecting a value from you. And of course, console is not that smart to ask for it. So as a programmer, you need to do it. So I will stop the execution. I will say, hey user, enter the value. So of course, it's not compulsory, but then it's a good gesture, right? I will say enter first number. Okay, and the same thing goes for y. As I mentioned, it's not compulsory to type the message, but then it's always better. Enter second number. Okay, so we got enter first number, enter second number, and now I will rerun the code. Right click, run, and you can see it is asking for the value. Now a user knows something is happening. So user will come here and user will say, I want to add 9 and I want to enter 5. 9 plus 5 will give you 14, right? I will say enter. Oh, that's weird. We got 9 space 5. That's bad. The thing is, what is happening here is, if you have observed, I was also giving a space in between. Maybe that's the issue. I will run this again. And this time I will give a value which is 9 without space and 5 without space. This time at least we'll be getting 14, right? Hopefully. I will say enter. Oh, again we got 95. That's bad. What's wrong here? So when you want to work with a function called as input, it will always give you the string type. If you remember, we also have a type which is str. So it will always give you the value in str format. What you want is integer, right? Because you are adding two values. And if you want to add two values, it should be integer. Example, if I print the type of x in this case, of course after fetching the input, I will say run this code once again. You can see it is waiting for the input. I will say 9. The moment I say enter 9, you can see the type of 9 is str. It's integer, right? But the thing is, by default, input function will convert everything as a string. Now that means you need to convert this value before assigning the value. So what you can also do is you can take another variable like a, and you can convert the value of x into integer, because x is string. So you can say int and you can pass x, right? We have seen that. How do you convert from string to integer, or from different function to different function? So this is how you convert a string into integer. And then you can add, you can simply say instead of x, you can say a. And for y as well, the same thing, because y is also string. So I would say b is equal to int of y. Yeah, and now we'll say b. Now it should work. We are expecting a value which is 14. If this will not work, I will stop the video and run. Okay, so let's enter 9 and let's enter 5. Hopefully it will work. I will say enter. Oh, it worked finally. So you can still continue, you can still watch the video. So yeah, so it was 14, right? So it is working. So the issue was, by default, input gives you string format. We need to convert that into format which we want. Example, if you want float, simply use float function. If you want integer, you can use integer function. Okay, this works. But then don't you think we are wasting some lines of code here? Example, I could have used input here itself, I mean int here itself, because say input gives you string. So we are converting that string into integer. So the type of x is now integer. So we don't need a there, right? So it's always better to save the number of lines. So here as well, I will say int, and this should work. Instead of a and b, I will say x plus y. Finally, it should work now without a and b, of course. That was our main agenda, right? Now it is asking for the value. This time I will go for some other values. 7 plus 3, it should give you 10, and it works. So this thing is working now. In fact, the same code which we are doing here on PyCharm will work on IDLE editor as well, okay? That works. So let's do something extra now. What I will do is, I want to take the input from a user in a char format. Because see, we don't have a char format in Python, right? We have int, we have float, we have string. How do we take a char? Example, we can do that actually. You can say x is equal to, or maybe this time we'll use ch because that makes sense. I want a character, right? So ch is equal to input. Of course, we don't need to convert that into integer because it's character. And you will say enter the character, enter the char. Now see, you can use double quotes or single quote, both works as you know. And then I will print ch. Yeah, this should work. Let's try. I will just run this code. We're waiting for the character. We'll use p, enter. It works. You can see we can take character as well. But here's a trick. The trick is, what if I enter PQR? Of course, right, I'm asking for a character, but or maybe your user don't know that you are expecting a character. Maybe by mistake user typing multiple characters. In this case, look at the output. We are expecting a character, user enters entire string, but we still want character, right? If you want to have that control to print only one character, you can use index values. We have done that, right? If you remember when we were talking about strings, we have done this. We can use index number and we can fetch first character. This should work. Let's try. I will say PQR and you can see we got P, right? This is fun. In fact, the next code is amazing, okay? It's more fun. What if I don't even, because in CH we still have PQR. What if you don't want PQR, you only want P? So we have a trick here. What if while fetching the input only, you will specify that, hey, I only want the first character. See, input will fetch the entire string. Input will fetch PQR, but it will assign only P to CH. Let's try. I'll say PQR, enter, you can see that you got P. So again, you can play with the codes, right? And that's why programming is awesome. There's a concept of syntax, plus there's also a concept of fun. So you just have to play with it. It's like playing a game with programming language. In fact, since we are working with input, we can do something extra. We can also use a function called as eval, which will evaluate the expression which you are passing. Example, let's say, if I give the input, let me just run this code. If I give the input as 2 plus 6 minus 2, or maybe 6 minus 1, can we do it? Can we do it here? Because see, when you pass 2 plus 6 minus 1, it is not normal integer. It is not normal string. It's something different, right? It's an expression. And to use that, of course, you got 2 here because we are fetching only first character. If you want to evaluate that, what I will do is I will say result. So there's a function called as eval. Of course, we will not be using index here. So there's a function called as eval. So in eval function, you are passing the data which you're getting from the user. So it's enter an expression, right? So when a user enters the expression, it will evaluate and it will give you the output. Let's do that here. I will print result. Let's try. I hope it will work. Okay, so now let's give the expression here. I will say 2 plus 6 minus 1. Enter. Yes, it's working. You can see we got 7. So that's the exciting thing about functions, So in Python, we have so many functions to work with. Now, since we are talking about input, we can do something extra as well. What if you want to take the input from the command line? Now, when I say command line, let's go back to this code. If you remember this code here, we were running mycode.py, right? Where we have printed only hello world. Let's try once again. You can see there was some code. We are printing 11. But what if I want to pass a value from here? Example, I will say Python, and here I will enter mycode.py. Now the values in my code, let me just verify my code here. So this is my code, okay? So so I went to desktop, I opened this file which is my code, and you can see the values which is 5 and 6. If you want to take input from user, you can use input functions. But I want to pass the values when I'm running this. So if you see CMD here, when I'm running the code, I want to pass a value which is 6 and 2. I want to add these two numbers. Is it possible? Can you pass a value from here? Yes, you can. But are you accepting the value? No. So even if I run this code, you can see we got 11. So we should be changing this value. Instead of using 5, we can use a special keyword which is called as agrv. Now agrv will be having multiple values, not one, it will be a list. So example, if you are passing one value, it will be one value. If you are passing two values, it will be two values. If you are passing 10 values, it will be having 10 values. And if you want to access a particular value, you need to use index number. Okay. Now what index number? So index number 0 is a file name. So if I go back to my command prompt, you can see when I say Python and then after that I'm entering a file name. Now this is your index number 0. 6 is index number 1 and 2 is index number 2. So if you want to fetch it, you will be using argv and in a square bracket you will say this is 1. Why not 0? Because 0 is for file name, right? So we'll use 1 and 2. And now you can add these two values. Let's verify. Let's go back to our Python prompt and I will say enter. Oh, there is an error. It says argv is not defined. Okay, the thing is, it belongs to a module called as sys. So we have to say import sys and then we'll say sys.argv, sys.argv. Now it should work, hopefully. Go back to Python, enter. Oh, we got 6 and 2. Okay, the same problem. It will give you a string, right? So we have to convert that into int. My bad. But you learn from your mistakes. Let's go back and say enter. Oh, we got 8. Yeah, it's working. So that's how you work with input. So you can do whatever you want. Take the input and find the answer. You will find the question in the assignment section, which is at the end of this video. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you can enjoy the entire Python series. And also like the video if you have liked it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.